And now we have the delight of speaking with Steven Curtis Chapman.
Excited to be here. Thanks,
and
Brett.
excitement is in the air about your concert tonight. The Songs and Stories Tour is an opportunity for people to see you in a different type of setting. How does this concert perhaps differ from some of your previous tours?
Well, I think those that have seen me through the years, know that I always kind of part of the deal with doing concerts for me is to try to make it as much as possible feel like you're kind of sitting in the living room just hanging out listening to songs, not necessarily a big event in the sense that you're the audience, I'm the performer, I'm up here performing, as much as really trying to invite everybody sitting in the room into, hey, let me tell some stories, sing some songs, trying to make it feel like we're just kind of friends hanging out, talking about our journey, talking about what God's been doing. So my thought was just, if we could create an environment with the band and everything, but it feels like, man, we're really sitting in the living room with these guys, just hanging out, hearing the stories, hearing the songs. We've got a ton of instruments. We've got it's a real acoustic kind of oriented kind of night. So we got everything from upright bass and banjos and mandolins to cello, and we got drums, but it's just the kind of a setting that I think people will feel like, man, that's a really unique way to hear these songs and make it feel like family and just kind of hanging out, getting some fun time together.
So you're breaking out the band, but it won't be like a lot of noise.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to wake the neighbors and get the word out and saddle up our horses.
There you
and
go.
Dive in, and
wow.
all that stuff's going to happen, but it's going to happen in a little more acoustic kind of way.
Yeah.
But really a fun. Yeah, it's been a great thing. And
well, it sounds like a great adventure. Your latest album is called Recreation. What are some of the songs that appear on this project?
Well, I did go back and, for some really personal reasons, go and recreate some of the songs of mine that I guess you might call them mile markers on the great adventure, on the journey that I've been on, all the way back. I think maybe the earliest one was More to This Life. That was my third album. And then just kind of went and revisited some of the songs that, in the last 3 years particularly, as we walked through the deep valley of losing our daughter Maria to a tragic accident, I've found that so many of the truths in my songs have taken on a much deeper meaning for me. And when I sing lyrics, even when I talk about the great adventure, and the bridge in that song says, we'll travel over mountains so high, we'll go through valleys so low, still through it all we'll find this is the greatest journey the human heart will ever know. And I thought, that I really understand that at such a deeper level now, having walked through the deep places of loss and grief, and yet seeing God be faithful in those places. When I sing More to This Life, when I sing For the Sake of the Call, and talk about those kinds of things. So, all those songs have new passion sort of in them, and new purpose. And when I sing them live, so I thought it'd be great to go and re-record those songs kind of in the way they feel to me now. So I did do Great Adventure and For the Sake of the Call. Speechless is a song on there. Magnificent Obsession. Dive. And then there's some new music as well. Because one of the things that God has really faithfully done for my family and I in these last, especially the last year, is really begin to bring us into a season of recreation. We're learning really to laugh again, and really knowing that we're learning to live with this hole in our hearts, which is going to be there until we see Jesus, till we see Maria again. We all carry those places of loss and grief that don't go away. We do begin to learn to laugh again, and my family and I are, my wife and I are, it's so thankfully coming into a place of more joy together, where the pain, it's like there's a point I think where the bitter, there's a bitter sweetness when we even think about our daughter, but the sweet begins to become stronger than the bitter. The bitter is always there, that loss and that sadness, but to begin to see God really redeem things, and we begin to look more towards, yes, Maria is a bigger part of our future than our past. That's the hope of the gospel. And there's that point, I think, where you begin to realize, we're not feeling pulled so much from the past that it's hard to even take another step forward. But now we're beginning to really get some momentum, knowing that we're moving in the direction where Maria is anyway. We're heading forward. Yeah. We're taking steps forward. So yeah, that's kind of where we feel like we are.
You made a statement when you were talking about this experience that the loss of a child has the potential to pull apart marriages. And I'm wondering, how do you and Mary Beth protect that from happening?
Well, I would love to say, gosh, we've done all these great, things and read these books and all of that. We have done a great deal of counseling. I will say that. In fact, we feel like we've probably built wings on the houses of most of the counselors in Nashville. We've spent a lot of hours, which hours equate to dollars in the counseling world. Saying, we are committed to this, and whatever it takes, and especially through the loss of Maria, hours with our kids and with each other and individually, just talking to people that are, the quote professionals, but really godly people that just can help you navigate through that. That's really been a big part of it, and honestly, just showing up. I mean, 90% is different statistics out there, but 90% of marriages don't survive the loss of a child is kind of what we've heard and told. Yeah, which is really hard to imagine, because you would think, well, you just hold on to each other because that's what you have to do, and you do, but it's unlike any other. And my wife and I have struggled through our 27 years. Next week, 27 years of marriage, we've struggled as much as two people can, I think, being so different, and then the calling and the enemy, attacking anywhere he can, because if he can take out a family that kind of is taking a public stand for the gospel, we've seen it happen so many times. We're not immune to that by any means, and we're sinners, and God's still working in our lives. But we, I've seen just daily, as we've said, you know what, I don't know how we're going to make it. I don't know how we're going to survive this. We are not going to give up. We're going to trust that God will finish the work that He started in us, in our marriage, in us individually, and God has been faithful to do it. I kissed my wife goodbye this morning, and got on the plane and just was thanking God that I've never been more in love with my wife, and that is a miracle. I mean, with what we've walked through, to be able to say that and to really believe that she doesn't only love me, but she likes me even right now, which is really good.
Well, I sense that your music took a more reflective tone toward eternal matters after the loss of Maria. Do you think more of heaven and eternity than before?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's one thing to, think about it and read about it, and even, in Scripture when Paul talks about, I long to be, to live as Christ, to die as gain. I would much rather be there, be home. And I have to admit, for a lot of my life, I didn't really understand that. It's pretty good here, especially on a day like this. The sun's shining, blue sky, and it feels great. And we're not far from the Harley plant, where you can go get on a Harley and take a ride, as I did a couple of days ago with my wife. But when you have one of you, a part of you, living in heaven physically, tangibly, as we do with our daughter, and so many of us, with loved ones that are just, we feel like a piece of us missing. It really does begin to change that, and change so much about what we think about heaven, how we think about it. I began to have this sort of insatiable desire to know as much as I could about this place that my little girl was now living, and that was a lot of that early process, especially of, and the music out of an album that was called Beauty Will Rise, that was written out of that place of just longing to just see inside the door, where my little girl is, and having by faith to just trust and believe and know that God is taking care of her. But for sure, that has changed a lot of my perspective.
With Purpose, Steven Curtis Chapman from the CD Recreation. This is Do Everything on WJTL. All right.
Cool.
Thank you very much for stopping by.
Absolutely.
Yeah.